The cold hum of the ancient space station echoed through the abandoned hallways. The lights flickered on and off as dust swirled in the empty corridors. Adam slowly opened his eyes. He blinked several times, his vision blurry, and he felt the weight of his head pounding. He was on the floor. Slowly, he sat up, rubbing his forehead, trying to shake off the fogginess. "Where am I?" he whispered to himself. The last thing he remembered was leaving Earth for a routine maintenance job on the Silurian space station, far in the outer reaches of the galaxy. The aliens had brought him aboard to fix some systems, nothing major, but something had gone terribly wrong. His mind raced as he struggled to remember. He glanced around. The station, once a hub of alien technology and innovation, now seemed deserted, like it had been abandoned for years. The air was thick, and the strange, metallic scent of the Silurians lingered in the atmosphere. There was no sound, no life. The hum of the station's systems, once constant, had gone silent. "Hello?" Adam's voice echoed through the vast hall. No response. It was like he was alone in the entire galaxy. Standing up, Adam wiped the dust from his jumpsuit and scanned the area. The station was enormous, far larger than he had ever imagined. The walls were lined with strange alien tech, blinking with dull lights. He walked down a long corridor, hoping to find some signs of life, or at least answers. After walking for what felt like hours, Adam found the station's main control room. The door slid open with a low hiss, and he stepped inside. The room was dark, save for the faint glow of a few screens. On the far wall, a large console stood, covered in alien symbols and markings. It was clearly an advanced piece of technology, one Adam had never seen before. He approached the console, tapping a few buttons, but nothing happened. Frustrated, he turned to look around the room. On the far side of the room, an observation window looked out into the blackness of space. Adam walked towards it, hoping to catch a glimpse of a ship, of any sign of life. But all he saw was the endless void. "Where is everyone?" he asked aloud. Suddenly, a soft beep came from the console. Adam's heart skipped a beat. He rushed back to the panel, tapping the screen again. This time, the console lit up, and a series of strange symbols flashed across the screen. It wasn't in any language he recognized, but it didn't matter. It was a sign. Someone, or something, had been here recently. As he examined the screen, a loud clanking noise echoed from behind him. Adam whipped around, his heart pounding in his chest. But there was nothing. No one. Just the empty corridors stretching into the distance. He let out a long breath. His mind raced. The Exhilarations were supposed to be a peaceful species, a race of highly advanced beings who had worked with humanity for years. They'd never shown any sign of hostility or aggression. Yet now, Adam was alone, completely alone. What had happened to them? He turned back to the console, determined to figure it out. This time, he noticed a series of blueprints displayed on the screen. The drawings seemed to be of the station itself, its systems, its engines, its weaponry. But these weren't normal blueprints. Some of the designs were far more advanced than anything he had ever seen. It was as if they were incomplete. As Adam scrolled through the images, his eyes widened. One of the designs wasn't a blueprint for a piece of technology. It was a ship, a massive advanced ship. One that looked like it could travel faster than anything Adam had ever imagined. It was like the station was built to house it, but something had gone wrong. Adam couldn't help but feel that something was off. He had always known that the Silurians were a secretive race, but this was different. This wasn't just an abandoned station. There was something more going on, something hidden deep within the walls of this place. Maybe if I can repair the systems, I'll find the answers, Adam thought. He had no choice. He needed to survive, and if that meant fixing the station's power and communication systems, he would. But as Adam began to dig deeper into the blueprints, he realized something even more unsettling. The Exhilarations had left this place in a hurry, And they had left behind more than just their station. They had left behind their fear. The designs weren't just for advanced ships or weapons. They were for the destruction of this very station. The Exhilarations had been preparing for something terrible. And whatever it was, Adam had a feeling that it was heading his way. As he gathered more tools and started his repairs, a thought lingered in his mind. Why had they left him behind? The aliens had always been distant, but they had never been this careless. Adam had been left behind on a station that was far beyond anything humans had ever known. They had abandoned him, but he wasn't sure why. And he wasn't sure if he wanted to know. But one thing was clear. Adam wasn't going to just wait for death. If he was going to survive, he needed to understand what happened to the Exhilarations, and he needed to learn what secret they had hidden from the galaxy. He turned back to the console, the soft hum of the station growing louder in his ears. Whatever was coming next, Adam was ready. He would rebuild this place. He would survive. And when the time came, he would make sure the galaxy knew just how dangerous humanity could be. But for now, all he could do was rebuild. And wait. The station was eerily silent as Adam moved through the halls, his footsteps echoing softly in the quiet. He could feel the weight of the abandoned space pressing down on him. The air seemed thick, like it was holding its breath. And with every passing moment, the unsettling feeling deepened. It had been hours since he'd found the console and started working on the station's systems, but he still hadn't uncovered the truth behind the Exhilarations' sudden departure. The blueprints he'd seen were unsettling, too advanced, too incomplete. It was as if they had been preparing for something, but whatever that something was, it was hidden deep within the core of the station. He walked through the corridors again, heading toward what the station's layout identified as the engineering bay. The walls seemed to close in on him as he passed through, and the low hum of the station's machinery felt louder now. The quiet was almost suffocating, but Adam pushed on. There was no turning back now. He arrived at the engineering bay, a massive room filled with towering machines, blinking lights, and panels of incomprehensible alien technology. Adam had no clue how to operate most of the systems, but he knew enough to recognize the importance of the space. The very heart of the station was here, its engines, its power sources, and perhaps the key to understanding what had really happened. All right. Adam muttered to himself, taking a deep breath. He knelt down beside one of the consoles, tapping a few buttons and trying to get a reading on the power systems. A screen flickered to life in front of him, displaying unfamiliar symbols and numbers. He frowned. The power was still operational, but it was low, very low. The station was barely hanging on, and Adam had no idea how long it had been like this. It had to have been at least a few days. He couldn't have been left here for longer than that. He scanned the power systems, searching for the most critical fault. As he worked, his mind raced. Who had abandoned him here? Why hadn't they just shut the station down properly? What had they left behind? His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden noise from behind him. A small clicking sound, almost imperceptible, came from the darkness at the edge of the room. Adam turned sharply, his hand instinctively reaching for the wrench at his belt. He strained his ears, but the noise didn't come again. He narrowed his eyes and stood still for a moment, listening carefully. Nothing. He exhaled sharply, trying to calm his nerves. Get it together, he muttered under his breath. It's just the station settling. But the strange noise had unsettled him. The station wasn't alive, after all. It couldn't make noises like that, could it? Pushing the thought to the back of his mind, Adam refocused on his task. He pulled open the control panel in front of him and began reconnecting wires, trying to stabilize the power flow. The lights flickered as he worked, a sure sign that the system was fragile. Every wire he touched seemed to spark, and every moment felt like the station could fall apart. But Adam didn't have time to think about that. He needed answers. He needed to survive. As he worked, he kept a close eye on the rest of the room, still feeling like something was off. The unsettling feeling hadn't gone away, And in fact, it was growing stronger. He couldn't shake the thought that someone, or something, was watching him. But he couldn't afford to let fear take over. The soft hum of the station seemed louder now, vibrating through his bones, as if the walls themselves were alive. Adam wiped the sweat from his brow and worked faster, his eyes darting nervously between the machinery. The station had been abandoned, but that didn't mean it was empty. There was something else here. He could feel it. The power systems came back online with a soft whir, and the lights in the room flickered brightly for a moment. Adam breathed a sigh of relief. He had done it. But as he stood up to survey his work, a sudden sound, a loud metallic clang, came from across the room. His heart skipped a beat. This time, it was different. The sound wasn't just the station settling. It was something, or someone, moving. Adam's eyes darted around the room, but he couldn't see anything. He grabbed a tool and held it tightly in his hand, ready for whatever was coming next. The station had always been home to advanced technology, but now it felt like a trap. He had been left here, abandoned by the very people who had brought him to this station, and now there was a hidden threat lurking in the dark corners of the room. "Who's there?" Adam called, his voice shaking despite his best efforts to sound confident. "Show yourself." There was a long pause, the silence thick with tension. Then, just as he was about to turn away, a dark shape emerged from the shadows. A figure. It wasn't a human. It was alien, but its outline was hard to make out in the dim light. For a moment, they simply stood there, staring at each other, frozen in place. Adam's heart pounded in his chest as he clenched the tool in his hand, ready for whatever came next. Then the figure spoke. "You should not have come here." Adam's blood ran cold. The voice was low and menacing, filled with an unspoken threat. Adam took a step back, his mind racing. What had he stumbled into? What secret were the Xylorians hiding? And more importantly, why were they now hunting him? He had no answers, but one thing was certain. The station wasn't abandoned, and he was far from alone. And now he had a new enemy. Adam's grip tightened around the wrench in his hand as the alien figure stepped forward. It was tall and cloaked in shadow, its shape barely discernible in the dim light of the station's core. Adam's mind raced, trying to process what was happening. The voice had echoed in his ears like a warning, a chilling warning. But Adam wasn't going to give in to fear. He couldn't. "You should not have come here," the alien repeated, its voice now cold and distant. It was a command, a statement, not a plea. Adam swallowed hard, trying to steady his shaking hands. His thoughts spun in every direction. Was this the Xylorians who had abandoned him? If so, why had they left him behind in the first place? Why didn't they finish their mission? "Who are you?" Adam demanded, his voice trembling despite his best efforts to stay calm. He could hear the fear in his own words, but he wouldn't let it show any more than that. The alien didn't respond immediately. Instead, it took another step forward, its presence looming in the dark. Adam could feel the weight of its stare, even though he couldn't see its eyes. The hairs on the back of his neck stood on end, every instinct in him screaming to run, but his legs felt frozen in place. "Not who," the alien finally said, its voice dripping with a strange sort of finality. "What?" The word hung in the air like an unanswered riddle. Adam furrowed his brow. What was that supposed to mean? "What are you talking about?" Adam asked, his mind racing. The alien didn't respond, merely watching him with that unsettling gaze. Suddenly, the floor beneath him rumbled. The entire station seemed to groan and shift, as if it were alive, reacting to the presence of the alien. Adam's stomach dropped as the realization hit him. This was no ordinary alien. It wasn't just a scout or a soldier. There was something far more significant about this entity, something that even the Tylorians had feared. "You are not supposed to be here," the alien said, its voice now tinged with an edge of anger. "You should have died with the rest of your kind." The words hit Adam like a slap. Died with the rest of his kind. What did that mean? Who were they talking about? The alien seemed to sense Adam's confusion. Its form shifted slightly, and Adam noticed for the first time that the alien was holding something, an object in its hand, an orb that glowed faintly with an eerie green light. It was unlike anything Adam had ever seen before, but he knew it was important. Whatever this orb was, it was connected to everything happening on this station, connected to the alien's strange behavior and cryptic words. Adam stepped forward, despite the fear gnawing at him. What is that? What are you hiding here? The alien's grip on the orb tightened. It is not for you to understand, human, it replied harshly, its voice rising in pitch. This station is a place of power, a place you were never meant to find. Adam's heart pounded in his chest. Power. What power was the alien talking about? What was so significant about this place that the galaxy's most advanced race had left it behind? The answers were just out of his reach, but the longer he stayed here, the more dangerous the situation became. The alien raised the orb, pointing it at the control panel that Adam had just fixed. The air around it seemed to crackle with energy, as if the station was alive, reacting to the alien's movements. Adam took another step back. His mind was racing, trying to piece together everything he had learned in the past few hours. The Tylorian's hasty departure, the broken power systems, and now this strange, hostile alien that had been waiting for him. Why didn't you leave with the others? Adam asked, his voice low but determined. His fingers were still curled tightly around the wrench, his only weapon against the alien, and whatever the station was hiding. Why didn't you just finish the job? The alien's gaze hardened, its expression unreadable. You have no idea what you are asking. The station is not what you think it is. It is not just a structure, it is a weapon, and you have just activated it. The words hit Adam like a punch to the gut. A weapon. The station was a weapon. He had just fixed the power systems, not realizing that he was unwittingly making this place come to life, awakening something far more dangerous than he could have imagined. Do you understand now? The alien continued, its voice growing more sinister. You thought you were just fixing a broken station, but you have activated the core. The very core of the weapon that could destroy entire civilizations. Adam's mind spun. His stomach churned, the very station that had been left behind. Something he thought was an abandoned outpost was a weapon of mass destruction, and now he had activated it. There was no going back. You were never meant to fix it, the alien spat. You were meant to die here, forgotten. Adam's heart raced, but he pushed back the panic rising in his chest. This was far bigger than just survival now. He had to stop whatever had been set in motion. He couldn't let this station become a weapon of death, not when he had the power to stop it. Not today. Adam muttered, a fire igniting within him. He wasn't going to be anyone's pawn. The alien had made a huge mistake if it thought Adam would just roll over and let it destroy everything. The fight wasn't over. It had only just begun. As the alien lunged at him, Adam darted to the side, barely dodging the alien's strike. The station was shaking, the humming sound rising into a deafening roar. Adam's mind raced for a solution. He had no weapon, no plan, but one thing was clear. He had to disable whatever this weapon was before it destroyed everything. This was no longer about survival. This was about saving the galaxy. And Adam was going to do whatever it took. The alien's sharp movement barely missed Adam, sending a violent jolt through the air. The station seemed to tremble under the weight of its own secrets. Every vibration felt like it was coming from deep within the bowels of the massive structure. Adam's heart hammered in his chest. His mind raced as his instincts kicked in. He couldn't just stand there and hope for a miracle. He had to act. The alien hissed as it withdrew, its glowing eyes fixed on Adam with a mixture of contempt and cold calculation. You have no idea what you've done, human. This place, this weapon, is far more dangerous than you can fathom. Adam's grip on the wrench tightened. You're wrong. I know exactly what I've done. You've been hiding something, and I'm going to find out what it is. The alien took another step forward, its form flickering in the dim light. The eerie glow of the orb in its hand pulsed, sending waves of energy through the station. It was like a heartbeat, a rhythmic thumping that reverberated in Adam's chest. Whatever was coming, it wasn't just a weapon. It was alive. The alien's voice dropped to a low growl. The weapon you've activated is not just designed for destruction. It is designed for control. This station holds the key to the future of the galaxy. And you, human, have just made it impossible to stop. Adam's pulse quickened. He could feel the oppressive weight of the alien's words, and the gravity of the situation settled deeper into his bones. This wasn't just about his survival. It wasn't even about escaping the station alive. This was bigger, far bigger. If he didn't find a way to stop the core, the galaxy itself could fall into chaos. His mind flashed to the plans he had seen earlier, blueprints of the station's systems. They had been left in the control room. There was still time. Adam had to get to the control room before the alien could do whatever it was planning. He wasn't about to let this ancient, powerful creature rewrite the fate of the galaxy. The alien began to speak again, its voice seeping with dark authority. You think you can stop this? You are a mere human. What do you understand about power, about true control? Adam didn't wait to hear the rest of the alien's words. His body moved of its own accord, slipping into a sprint as he headed down the corridor toward the control room. His thoughts were a blur of urgency and panic, but one thing was clear. If he didn't get to the core, he might never make it out alive. The station was coming to life, and so was its power. The walls around him seemed to vibrate with an eerie hum as he pushed himself faster. He could hear the alien's footsteps behind him, but he didn't dare look back. The station was alive, and the alien was hunting him. When Adam reached the control room, he slammed through the doors, stumbling into the cold, sterile room. His breath came in ragged gasps, but his eyes were already scanning the control panels. The room was dimly lit, with rows of ancient alien technology flickering to life. Sparks flew from an exposed wire, and the screens blinked erratically, as if struggling to display the data they were processing. Adam ignored the chaos around him, focusing on the most important thing, the master control terminal. He had no idea what he was looking at, but he knew enough to understand the sheer complexity of the technology. The system was old, but it was powerful. It was an ancient relic of the galaxy's past, and it was capable of immense destruction. He quickly hacked into the system, his hands moving with practiced speed. His pulse was deafening in his ears, but he focused on the task at hand. The alien hadn't followed him yet. Maybe it was waiting for him to make a mistake. But Adam couldn't afford a mistake. Not now. The terminal flashed an alert. Adam's heart skipped a beat. Core energy stabilization sequence initiated. The station's core was coming online. It was too late to turn back now. The power flowing through the station was escalating. He had to act fast, before the core's energy reached critical levels. As Adam struggled to understand the alien interface, his mind raced back to the words the alien had spoken. Control. That's what the alien had warned about. The station's core didn't just have the power to destroy. It could rewrite the very fabric of the galaxy, shifting power and balance to those who controlled it. And the alien clearly wanted it for itself. Suddenly, the alien's voice crackled through the intercom speakers. You cannot stop what has already begun. The core is alive. It cannot be shut down now. You are too late. Adam's eyes darted from the screen to the flashing indicators on the walls. The station's energy was rising by the second. The alien was right. The core was reaching its peak. But there had to be a way. There had to be a way to stop it. The blueprints. He remembered the blueprints. The schematics for shutting down the core's systems, buried deep in the codes. Adam's fingers flew over the control panel, inputting a series of commands he barely understood. Sweat dripped down his face as the alien's voice grew louder in the intercom. "You will never understand the true power you've awakened, human. It is beyond you. You will die here, and this galaxy will fall under my control." Adam didn't have time to argue. He was too close now. His mind focused entirely on one thing: the shutdown sequence. If he could just stop the core before it was too late. Then it happened. The system finally accepted his commands. The core's energy began to fluctuate as the stabilization sequence broke down. Adam felt a rush of relief. It was working. But the alien wasn't finished. The door to the control room exploded inward, sending a shockwave of force through the air. Adam spun around just in time to see the alien stride in, its eyes glowing with fury. "You think you can stop me?" it hissed. "You think you can stop this?" Adam took a deep breath. He wasn't done yet, not by a long shot. The alien advanced, its movements swift and menacing, as if it had all the time in the universe. But Adam could feel the pressure rising in the room. Every second counted. The core was near critical, and the alien, no matter how imposing, was only part of the problem now. The station itself was becoming an enemy. Adam's mind raced. The shutdown command had worked for a moment, but now the alien was here, and he couldn't trust the system to hold. He needed to finish this before everything came crashing down. His hand was still on the terminal, fingers hovering over the emergency shutdown button. "Human," the alien hissed, voice full of contempt. "You do not belong here. You should have stayed with your fragile diplomacy. You should have never come." Adam's jaw tightened. He wasn't going to give in now. Not when everything was on the line. He straightened up, placing his hand firmly on the terminal and speaking through clenched teeth. "I didn't come here to talk. I came here to save the galaxy." The alien scoffed. "Save the galaxy?" It laughed harshly. "You're just a tool, a pawn in a game far beyond your comprehension. The galaxy is mine for the taking, and now you will pay for your interference." Adam could feel the station around him hum with energy. The alien was right. This was a game of power, and Adam had unknowingly thrown himself right in the middle of it. But no matter the odds, he couldn't back down. Not now. The alien lunged toward him, its clawed hand extended, ready to strike. Adam ducked, narrowly avoiding the alien's swipe. His heart pounded in his chest, the weight of the station's impending collapse making the air feel thick and suffocating. He stumbled back, his feet sliding against the smooth floor. The alien wasn't giving him a second to think. With a growl, the creature charged again, but this time, Adam was ready. He had spent years working with machines, understanding how things worked, not just how they functioned, but how to break them. His body moved on instinct, stepping to the side as the alien's claws scraped against the metal wall. Adam reached for a nearby pipe, his fingers wrapping around the cool metal. He swung it at the alien, hitting it squarely in the side. The alien hissed in pain but quickly recovered, turning its deadly gaze toward Adam. "You are not worthy to strike me down, human," it sneered. Adam didn't respond. Instead, he gritted his teeth, struggling to keep his focus on both the alien and the rapidly rising energy levels. His mind darted between the fight and the terminal. His hands were still locked in a tense grip on the emergency button. He needed to end this, and fast. The alien was faster this time, its claws slashing through the air, but Adam was quicker. With a well-timed dodge, he managed to slip under the alien's guard, hitting the terminal's control panel with a well-placed elbow. Sparks flew, and the console's screen flickered before going dark. The station groaned in response, but the alien barely noticed, too consumed by its rage. "You think you can stop me?" It snarled again, its voice sharp and venomous. "The station is mine. You are nothing." Adam's hand trembled, his finger hovering just above the shutdown button. The alien's rage-filled words didn't stop him. He had one chance, and he had to take it now. With a decisive motion, Adam slammed his fist down on the button. The room seemed to freeze for a moment. The air stood still, as if holding its breath. And then, silence. The core's hum ceased, the flashing lights dimmed, and for a brief moment, everything felt eerily still. Adam dared not move, watching the alien's furious expression shift into one of confusion and disbelief. "What have you done?" The alien growled, its voice low and threatening. The station itself seemed to quake under its wrath. The energy it had once surged now flickered in unpredictable waves. Adam's voice was calm but firm. "I stopped you. I've stopped all of this from destroying everything." For a brief second, Adam thought he had done it. The station had stopped, the energy flow halted, and the alien was momentarily stunned by his defiance. But the alien wasn't done yet. With a roar, the alien lunged at Adam, its claws slashing in all directions. Adam ducked and rolled out of the way, barely avoiding the deadly strike. But in that instant, he knew he didn't have much time left. The shutdown had only bought him moments, not a permanent solution. The alien hissed, its eyes narrowing. "You may have stopped the core, human, but you cannot stop me. I will take back what you've stolen. The galaxy will bend to my will." Adam wasn't listening to the alien's words anymore. His focus was solely on the terminal, on the station's fragile systems that were still holding together by a thread. He needed a real solution, a way to prevent the alien from regaining control. The alien advanced again, more determined than ever. But Adam knew what he had to do. He had one last trick up his sleeve, one final effort to ensure that the station wouldn't fall back into the hands of this ancient, dangerous creature. In a move fueled by desperation and the need to survive, Adam reached for the station's core control. He pulled out a small, dangerous device, something he had hidden in his pocket for this exact moment. "Game over," Adam whispered. The device Adam held in his hand pulsed with a faint red light, its sleek metal casing cool against his fingers. He knew the risks. There was no turning back now. The alien was closing in, its eyes filled with nothing but rage. With a final, blood-curdling screech, the creature launched itself at Adam, its claws reaching for his throat. But Adam had no intention of allowing that to happen. Not now. Not when he was so close to victory. He pressed the device into the console, twisting it with all the force he could muster. The hum of the station's core flickered again, and for a brief, terrifying moment, everything went silent. The alien faltered, confused, its sharp eyes flickering between Adam and the console. What have you done?" The alien hissed, its voice cracking with fury. Adam's voice was calm, though his body was on the edge of exhaustion. "I've triggered the failsafe. If you want the station back, you'll have to fight through the consequences." The device began to emit a high-pitched whine, signaling that the countdown had begun. Red lights flashed above them, casting an ominous glow across the station's darkened hallways. The alien stared at Adam, fury burning in its eyes. It had underestimated him, thought him a mere human with no understanding of their technology, of their galaxy. But now, Adam was the one who held the power. The alien let out an inhuman screech and charged once more, its claws slashing in an attempt to tear Adam apart. But Adam was faster. He sidestepped the alien's strike, grabbing a nearby metal rod and swinging it with all his might. The alien staggered back, temporarily dazed. "You'll regret this, human," the alien growled, its voice a low, guttural sound that sent chills down Adam's spine. Adam didn't answer. There was no time for words. The countdown was ticking down, and he could feel the pressure building. The alien had to be stopped, or they'd both be caught in the explosion when the station's core finally detonated. With one last swing of the rod, Adam managed to strike the alien's chest, sending it flying backward. The creature crashed into the wall, knocking down a series of loose panels as it struggled to regain its balance. Adam took advantage of the momentary distraction. He quickly ran to the central control panel, his fingers flying across the keys. The screen blinked back to life, displaying the countdown. 3 minutes remaining. The alien's growl echoed in the room as it slowly stood up, clearly in rage. It was injured, but not yet defeated. And neither was Adam. His heart pounded in his chest, adrenaline surging through his veins. He couldn't let the alien stop him. Not when everything was on the line. "You can't stop it," the alien spat. "The station is mine. I will rebuild it, and I will destroy you, human." Adam clenched his teeth. He had no intention of letting that happen. Not when he had come this far. The alien was desperate now, trying to reach him before the countdown finished. But Adam was focused. He had one more task to complete, one final action to ensure that the station's core wouldn't go into a critical meltdown. His fingers worked quickly, entering the final code sequence into the terminal. The alien roared in fury, charging at him once more. But this time, Adam was ready. With the final entry into the system, Adam hit the large red button marked Activate Fail-Safe Protocol. The station shuddered, as if groaning in protest. The lights dimmed and flickered. The alien froze in place for a split second, realizing too late what had just happened. "No," the alien screamed. "No." The station's core began to hum louder, the energy intensifying with every passing second. Adam could feel the vibrations in the floor beneath him. It wasn't just the alien now. The whole station was ready to explode. The countdown read, 1 minute remaining. Adam turned and ran. There was no time to waste. He didn't look back at the alien, who was now desperately trying to make its way to the control panel, but it was too late. The system had been locked. There was no escaping the consequences now. He sprinted down the narrow corridor, his breath ragged as the countdown reached 30 seconds. The sound of the alien's furious pursuit grew quieter as Adam pushed himself harder. He could hear the explosion building, feel the pressure mounting in the air. As he rounded a corner, the distant rumble of the alien's final scream echoed through the station. 10 seconds. Adam barely made it to the exit, slamming his palm against the emergency airlock. The doors hissed open just as the countdown hit 3 seconds. The station rumbled again, a deafening roar building around him. Adam leaped through the door, and with a final glance back, he saw the station's core flare bright with energy before everything went black. The airlock doors closed behind him, sealing him away from the chaos. Adam collapsed to the floor, gasping for air, heart racing. Through the viewport of the airlock, he could see the fading glow of the station as it disintegrated into the void of space. It was over. The station was gone, but Adam had survived. Against all odds, he had stopped the alien, rebuilt the station, and stopped the destruction from reaching the galaxy. But even as the debris floated past him, he knew this wasn't the end. The galaxy would remember what had happened here. They would remember the human who had rebuilt the alien station. And soon, they would come to understand. No one, no matter how powerful, could ever underestimate humanity again. Adam's chest heaved with exhaustion as he floated in the empty void of space, watching the remnants of the alien station slowly drift apart. The debris shimmered like a constellation of shattered hope. But for Adam, it was a sign of something greater. The galaxy had witnessed the human strength. The story of how a single human engineer had survived the impossible was spreading. The galaxy wasn't just looking at him anymore, it was learning from him. As the debris continued to float around the remains of the station, Adam's mind was already racing. He had been abandoned, left to die. Yet now the station was more than just a symbol of defiance. It was the key to unlocking a future where humanity would no longer be the underdog. It would be a beacon of hope, strength, and innovation. But as Adam floated, he couldn't help but think of what lay ahead. The alien species that had been so quick to abandon him, to underestimate him, would now have to reckon with the consequences of their actions. Adam wasn't just a survivor anymore. He was the architect of a new era, one where humanity's place in the galaxy would never again be questioned. He activated the communications console in his spacesuit, the holographic screen blinking to life in front of him. The message was brief, but it carried immense weight. "This is Adam, the human engineer. The station has been destroyed. I have secured the technology, and am currently assessing the next steps. To the galaxy at large, humanity is no longer a passive observer. We have risen. Prepare yourselves for what's coming." The transmission ended, and Adam drifted silently, waiting. He wasn't sure what he was expecting, but in that moment, he realized something profound. It wasn't just about survival. It was about a message. Humanity was no longer weak. The galaxy had just learned what one human was capable of. And soon, every species would have to deal with the consequences of underestimating Earth. The Federation would take notice. The Council, who had previously dismissed humanity as unworthy, would be forced to reassess. The ripples of Adam's actions would spread far and wide. As long as he still had breath, he would continue to push forward. His journey wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Just then, the faint buzz of a new transmission broke through the quiet hum of his suit. "Adam, this is Captain Kane of the Terran fleet. We've picked up your signal. Hold on. We're coming for you." Adam allowed himself a small smile, relief flooding his chest. The fleet had arrived. Earth had sent reinforcements. The Terran fleet had arrived. This time, humanity wasn't just a single man in a broken station. It was a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy was about to find out just how dangerous that could be. As the Terran ships moved into view, their sleek shapes cutting through space with deadly precision, Adam knew that he wasn't alone anymore. The world was waking up. The galaxy would learn the hard way. Humanity wasn't something you could push aside. They were strong, and they were here to stay. The stars outside his viewport shimmered with possibility. The future was uncertain, but Adam knew one thing for sure. The galaxy was never going to be the same again. The station was destroyed. The alien threat was gone, but something far more powerful had been awakened. The story of humanity's rise had only just begun, and as the Terran ships approached, Adam made one final vow to himself. No matter what came next, humanity would always stand tall, never again allowing the galaxy to forget the power of a single human mind. The end of this chapter only marked the beginning of something far greater.